Jim first, and then Derek, and then back to you.
Good morning, Jim Statwick. I'm an instructor here at Ecotech. So my question is, I'm not sure if it's strategy or tactics, but I would like you to just kind of expand on your philosophy a bit about how narrow or how broad our students should be at Ecotech. For example, we talked about a lot of different sources of energy other than renewables this morning. And when I think about energy, one of the big factors I think about is water. You hear terms like energy-water nexus. So I would guess I'd like a little bit of conversation on whether we need to bring other topics in more broadly or whether it's sufficient to have a narrow student graduate who focuses on renewables and not some of these other areas like water or other technologies. Thank you.
Being that I was a professor at one time, I think the best way to educate your students is to give them practical examples of life. Theory is very good, but theory only widens the horizon, but doesn't give you a solution. If you give them examples of what is surrounding them, what they could use the theory for, they can really be good students and good part of the society. So that's what my advice is. You know, so reach out, see the subject that you're teaching, whether it is transformers or regulators or whatever, in a bigger example, and how people use it, and how a little efficiency gives you a lot if you multiply it by 100,000 users rather than one user, and so on and so forth. So that's what my recommendation is.
Tim?
I guess I would analogize it to my practice. I think the broader, at least at this stage, possibly the better. I mean, if I look at my practice, in the 90s, I was spending a lot of time on coal projects. Then I started into natural gas projects. Then I moved into wind, and then I started doing solar, and now I think I'm probably going to go back to natural gas. There was a time where I started doing some nuclear. My point being, the technologies change, the industries change, there's ups and downs in the various industries. So I think if you have a knowledge base, let's say, you know, Ghazi was talking about transformers, that applies to all these sorts of projects. So I don't want to divert from the goal and the direction of Ecotech, but I think within the disciplines, to the extent you can broaden it out so that it's an application that applies to the various technologies, I think is favorable.
Go ahead. No, Greg, go ahead.
I think, you know, the first thing that people have to realize is energy affects everything we do. It affects our standard of living. Okay, there's nothing that we, you know, that we do that isn't affected in some way by energy. So by definition, okay, it's a broad subject matter, right? If you look at the growth of the U.S. economy over time, the electric consumption, energy consumption, has grown as a percentage of the growth in GDP. I mean, that is evidence enough that it touches everything we do, all right? The other thing I'll say is that the limitation that you place on yourself is as narrow as you want to make it, right? So if you view things as having a broad application, energy being related to water, water being related to environment, okay, then, you know, basically anything goes. And, you know, and I can give you an example. Okay, so one of the things that I didn't touch on in my introduction, I've got a problem, okay, in that people come to me with ideas, and I will oftentimes put an investment into the idea. So over the years, I have invested in, still own a piece of a manufacturing company that's involved in the construction industry that makes components for the metal, prefabricated metal buildings. Software company that provides actually service to her company, which I'm out of that business now. A wind turbine technology company, a packaging company, energy, you know, businesses. I'm involved in a new software company that anyone here would at some point, as this venture grows, have the opportunity to work for, because what it does is energy management. So all sorts of devices that need to be installed and connected and managed in some way. All right? Well, how narrow is that? All right? We're talking with this particular company about irrigation. All right? But anything that, being able to effectively monitor soil moisture contents in soils and adjust the irrigation schedule for optimized crop production. But what you're learning here is applicable, okay, to that particular field. And is it energy? Yeah, because it takes pumping power to move the water out of the ground onto the fields. It's environmental, but it sure as heck isn't narrow. So I guess my encouragement would be to, open it up, broaden it out. There's no, there's nothing that is so focused that other things don't affect it. I mean, we live in a world where when I went through my engineering program, okay, you hardly talked to anybody in the business world. Hell, you hardly talked to anybody, and I'm a nuclear engineer, you didn't talk to anybody on the electrical engineering side, right? Well, engineering is a discipline where if you don't have some basis in all of the disciplines, you can hardly be an engineer today. Okay, energy is the same way. If you don't have a basis in water or HVAC or just about anything, you're going to suffer. So I wouldn't limit myself in any way.